The holiday season is the time for gift giving, and maybe somebody you know wants a puppy for Christmas, or maybe you've been locked in quarantine for this whole time, and maybe you're really lonely and you want a companion to be there with you. Well, if you do want an animal, a dog or a cat for a Christmas present or for a quarantine companion, I suggest that you go and adopt one from a shelter and that you stay away from breeders and puppy mills. According to NoKillAdvocacy.com, there are roughly 1 million dogs and cats killed in U.S. shelters every year, and around 5.5 million animals enter shelters each year. This is a really high number. Shelters, they're trying their best to help animals and get them adopted, but there's only so much room. And because of this, eventually they have to put some of them down. Either they're too sick and they need to be put down, or they run out of room. And after a certain point, if an animal doesn't get adopted, they can be put down. So that is one reason to go to a shelter instead of buying one. Usually the adoption fees are cheaper too. If you go to a legitimate breeder or mill, they can be very pricey. And really the only advantage is that they have a purebred dog, I guess. It just doesn't make sense to me. I think it's cheaper and more ethical to just adopt an animal that is already around than to buy from a breeder or a mill and potentially support an abusive business towards animals. Not all breeders are puppy mills. Not all breeders are bad people. We did get an animal from a breeder one time because they really wanted this one specific breed. And that is when it does make sense. If you absolutely want a certain breed and you can't check this, or if you can't find one in a local shelter, then it makes sense to go to a breeder. But that is a special case. But again, we have got an animal from a breeder, and they were perfectly ethical about it, and they were extremely nice and good people, and were very nice to the animals. But lots of puppy mills and lots of breeding stings, I guess, and operations are very abusive. As you can see here, and if you buy from a mill that's abusive, you are paying for these people to do what they're doing. Sentientmedia.org defines a puppy mill as an operation that breeds dogs not for health or vitality, but for profit. And these things can go from a few dogs to even thousands. And they don't care about the health, the cleanliness. They don't care about anything like that. They're there exclusively for profit. They don't care what they do to the animals. They don't care how the animals are held. They don't care about the conditions of their area. According to paws.org, a website on puppy mills, says that they're usually treated like cash crops. They're confined to squalid, overcrowded cages with minimum shelter from extreme weather and no choice but to sit and sleep in their own excrement. They usually don't get veterinary care if they're sick. Animals suffer from malnutrition or starvation due to inadequate or unsanitary food and water. Some female dogs are bred until they cannot breed anymore, and then they're usually put down in some inhumane way. And usually, after a puppy or a kitten is born, they are just snatched from the mother. They are taken immediately from the mother way before the weaning process should be completed. And this has so many negative effects on the animals. So, again, not every breeder is like this. There are many humane, nice breeders. And there are, obviously, occasions, if you just really want a certain breed for some reason and you can't find it, to go to a humane breeder. But most of the time, I'd say that it is more likely a good thing. It's better to go to a shelter and adopt than to buy from a breeder. They could potentially be a mill. It is cheaper usually, and there are over 1 million animals each year in the United States that do get put down in shelters. And if you adopt one of those, you could help bring that number down. Thank you.